the perpetual acid rain of Neo-Aethelburg sheets down in shimmering, toxic curtains, hammering a relentless percussion against the corroded steel roof of the abandoned arcology known as the Crow's Nest. Inside, the air is thick with the smell of ozone, stale coolant, and wet concrete. Banks of flickering holographic displays cast a sickly, pulsating green and blue glow across the cluttered space, illuminating the faces of the three rebels who call this decaying haven their home. Kael, his brow furrowed in concentration, floats his fingers through a complex lattice of data streams, his neural interface, a web of fine, bioluminescent filaments woven into his temples, glowing with soft, cerulean light. Across the central display, a river of encrypted OmniCorp data flows, a torrent of secrets and sins. Another fat data packet from the OmniCorp Nexus, riding the public emergency band, Kael murmurs, his voice a low hum barely audible over the storm outside and the frantic whirring of cooling fans. Heavy encryption. Military grade. This isn't payroll data or internal memos. This feels different. It's got a weight to it. A malevolent gravity that's making my teeth ache. The actuators whine with a soft, precise sound. Her optical implant, a multifaceted crimson jewel set into her skull, cycles through various spectra, scanning the room out of habit. Just crack it, Kael. Don't get poetic. The longer we're tapped into that stream, the hotter we get. My augments are twitchy. Feels like static under my skin. She shifts, the reinforced polymer of her combat gear creaking softly. Maybe it's the storm. This city always feels like it's screaming right before a real disaster. The scent of burnt wiring joins the room's olfactory chorus. My joints haven't stopped aching since we jacked in. Phantom pains from the limbs OmniCorp took from me. A permanent reminder. Just get what we need so we can sever the connection. This exposure is making my combat instincts scream. He rolls his broad shoulders, the hydraulic pistons in his cybernetic left arm hissing in sympathy. Kael takes a deep, steadying breath, the glow from his neural interface intensifying, casting sharp shadows across his face. I'm going in deep. Bypassing the primary firewalls. This is it. His fingers dance in the air, and the central hologram shatters into a kaleidoscope of breaking code. For a moment, there is only chaos, a digital scream. Then it resolves. The screen is dominated by a single, stark emblem, a stylized, burning neural pathway encircled by barbed wire. Beneath it, in clean, horrifyingly simple text, are the words, Purge protocol active. System-wide neurological cascade initiated. All unauthorized augmentations, T-30, 00. The silence that falls is heavier than any sound. It is a physical pressure, suffocating and cold. Jinx is the first to break it, her voice a strained, disbelieving whisper. What is that? Kael. What does that mean, purge protocol? Her hand goes to her temple, where the edge of her own optical implant meets flesh. My vision, there's a flicker. A system alert I can't read. It's like a ghost in the machine. A wave of debilitating nausea washes over him, so violent he has to grip the edge of a rusted console to stay upright. My arm, it's locking up. The feedback, it's like 1,000 needles. He grits his teeth, sweat beading on his forehead. It's a kill switch. They put a kill switch in all of it. Every black market aug, every piece of tech we used to fight them. It's all a loaded gun pointed at our heads. The world around him wavers, the solid reality of the Crow's Nest flickering with jagged, staticky artifacts. It's not just a shutdown, he gasps, his hands trembling uncontrollably. It's a cascade. It will overload our systems, fry our neural pathways. It'll burn out our brains from the inside. They didn't just want to disable us, they wanted to make an example. To turn our own bodies into our coffins. A second holographic window materializes, showing a tactical schematic of their sector. 3 pulsating red dots are moving with terrifying speed and purpose, converging on their location from the aerial transit lanes above. They're here. The piercing shriek of the proximity alarm is a physical blow in the suffocating silence. The 3 red dots on the tactical schematic are hunting beacons, closing in with a terrifying, machine-like certainty. They triangulated the data breach, Kael breathes, his voice thin and reedy. The cold, invasive presence of the purge protocol is a squirming knot in his gut, a separate dread from the immediate physical threat. They're not just coming to silence us. They're coming to witness the purge. To make sure we die on schedule. The initial flicker in her optical implant has stabilized into a persistent, shimmering haze at the edge of her vision, like heat rising from asphalt. It's a constant, taunting reminder of the clock ticking down inside her own skull. It's our only chance. The signal interference from the geothermal vents might buy us time, throw off their targeting systems. But we have to move now. Her voice is sharp, a blade of command cutting through their shared paralysis. Rhys lets out a guttural roar, part rage, part agony, as he wrenches his locked cybernetic arm free from the console. Metal groans in protest, and a fresh wave of nauseating feedback makes his vision swim. The access shaft. The one behind the primary server wall. It leads down to the old maglev maintenance tunnels. It's a vertical drop, 50 meters at least. Rusted, unstable. He lumbers across the room, his movements jerky and uncoordinated, and begins tearing at a welded metal panel with his functioning organic hand, his fingers bleeding almost instantly against the sharp, corroded edges. Kael's hands fly across a secondary console, his movements frantic. I'm initiating a data dump. Scattering fragments of the purge protocol file across 1,000 public nodes. A trail of breadcrumbs. If we don't make it, maybe someone else will find it. Maybe. His sentence is cut short as a violent tremor runs through his body. The holographic display in front of him dissolves into a storm of static, and for a terrifying second, he doesn't see the console at all, but a blinding, white-hot lattice of fire, a preview of the neural cascade. He gasps, stumbling back, his hands clutching his temples. 28 minutes, he chokes out. The cascade, it's probing our defenses. Testing for weaknesses. A gust of damp, frigid air, smelling of ancient rot and industrial chemicals, billows out, carrying the distant, echoing drip of water. The shaft is a pit of pure darkness, a rusty ladder bolted to one side, seeming to descend into nothingness. A thunderous impact shakes the entire structure of the crow's nest, raining dust and chunks of concrete from the ceiling. A second, more precise blow follows, the distinct, high-energy whine of a plasma torch beginning to cut through the main blast door. The metal glows a vicious, molten orange. Go. Now. Rhys bellows, shoving Jinx toward the opening. Jinx doesn't hesitate. She leaps into the abyss, not even bothering with the ladder for the first 10 meters. She simply drops, her augmented legs absorbing the impact on a narrow maintenance platform with a bone-jarring thud that echoes up the shaft. It's clear. For now. Move. The solid floor beneath his feet feels like shifting sand. Rhys grabs him by the shoulder, his grip firm and grounding. Stay with me, Kael. Look at me. Your mind is your weapon. Don't let them take it before the clock runs out. He all but throws the hacker into the shaft, and Kael's hands, slick with cold sweat, find the freezing, gritty rungs of the ladder. Rhys is the last one in. As he begins his descent, a section of the ladder shears away under his immense weight, the rusted bolts giving way with a pathetic squeal. He swings out into the empty space, dangling by one hand for a heart-stopping moment before his fingers find another purchase, the metal groaning in protest. They descend into a different world. The sterile, electronic atmosphere of the crow's nest is replaced by the visceral, decaying underbelly of Neo-Aethelburg. The air grows thick and heavy, saturated with the cloying stench of mildew, stagnant water, and the sharp, acrid tang of chemical runoff. The only light comes from sporadic, flickering bioluminescent fungi clinging to the damp walls, and the faint, sickly green glow of toxic algae floating in pools of water below. The sounds of the storm are muted here, replaced by the constant, maddening drip-drip-drip of water, the skittering of unseen things in the darkness, and the deep, subterranean groan of the city's straining infrastructure. They splash down into ankle-deep, frigid water that smells of rust and decay. They are in a vast, cylindrical tunnel, the curved walls lined with archaic, dormant maglev. The frigid, chemical-laced water seeps through their boots, a shocking, immediate discomfort that is almost welcome, a tangible sensation to fight the ghostly violation of the purge protocol ticking down in their veins. The tunnel stretches ahead into absolute blackness, a gargantuan, rusting artery buried in the city's corpse. The only illumination is the sickly, pulsating glow of phosphorescent fungi that paint their faces in ghastly, shifting shades of green and pale blue. Which way? Jinx's voice is a tight wire of controlled panic. Her crimson optical implant sweeps the darkness, its enhanced spectra struggling to pierce the oppressive gloom. The shimmering haze at the edge of her vision is a constant, mocking companion. My internal mapping is glitching. Landmarks are shifting. It's like the city itself is turning against us. The servos whine and catch, the fingers twitching in a sporadic, useless dance. Follow the current, he grunts, nodding towards the sluggish, oily flow of water at their feet. It should lead to a primary drainage conduit. From there, we might be able to access the old broadcast array near the geothermal core. It's a long shot. A forgotten relic. A fresh wave of feedback-induced nausea makes him sway, and he braces himself against the cold, slime-slick wall, his organic hand leaving a smear of blood from his earlier efforts. 26 minutes. The pain, it's getting sharper. More focused. Like a surgeon's knife probing for a nerve. He cries out, not in pain, but in disorientation, as his reality is violently overwrit. For 3 full seconds, the decaying tunnel vanishes. He is standing in a pristine, white OmniCorp laboratory, surrounded by smiling technicians in clean suits. A calm, synthesized voice speaks directly into his mind. Compliance is tranquility. Resistance is neurological decay. You have been assessed. You are a flaw in the system. The system will now correct itself. The vision shatters as quickly as it came, leaving him gasping, the stench of decay and rust a horrifying relief. It's not just a countdown, he whispers, his voice trembling with a newfound, profound terror. It's a psychological warfare algorithm. It's trying to convince me to surrender. To accept the purge. The tunnel begins to narrow, the ceiling dropping lower, forcing Rhys to hunch his massive shoulders. The air grows thicker, hotter, carrying the heavy, sulfurous breath of the geothermal vents. The distant groan of the city's infrastructure becomes a constant, oppressive drone. Suddenly, Jinx freezes, her hand snapping up in a silent signal to halt. Her head cocks, her auditory augments filtering through the ambient noise. Movement. Up ahead. Not mechanical. Organic. Multiple contacts. Her voice is a low, tense whisper. Feral. The chemical runoff down here, it mutates the wildlife. The things that survive. Dozens of pairs of feral, phosphorescent yellow eyes ignite in the gloom, reflecting the eerie fungal light. They emerge from side pipes and submerged alcoves. Massive, hairless rats, their bodies bloated and covered in weeping sores, their teeth elongated into jagged, yellowed needles. These are scab rats, predators of the deep undercity, driven mad by toxicity and hunger. We don't have time for this. Rhys snarls, raising his locked, twitching cybernetic arm like a clumsy shield. The pack surges forward in a screeching, writhing tide of malformed flesh and razor-sharp claws. Jinx meets them with a whirlwind of lethal grace. Her chromed hand becomes a blur, each punch and slash calibrated for maximum lethality. Bones crunch and wet, tearing sounds fill the tunnel as she dispatches one creature after another, her movements a brutal, efficient dance. But her reactions are a fraction of a second slow, her enhanced timing betrayed by the ghost signal in her system. A set of filthy claws manages to rake across her shoulder, tearing through her polymer armor and drawing blood. Rhys, unable to use his primary weapon, fights like a cornered bear. He uses his sheer mass, his functioning organic fist slamming into the mutated rodents with bone-shattering force, sending their broken bodies flying back into the darkness with sickening, wet thuds. One latches onto his leg, its teeth grinding against the reinforced composite of his pants. With a roar of pure fury, he smashes it against the tunnel wall, leaving a dark, pulpy stain on the slime-covered concrete. Kael is defenseless, trapped in a waking nightmare. The rat attack overlays with another OmniCorp vision, a sterile efficiency report detailing the cost-benefit analysis of their extermination. He sees Jinx's biosigns flicker as data points, Rhys's rage as a predictable psychological outlier. The last scab rat lets out a final, gurgling screech as Jinx's chromed fingers crush its spine. She stands panting in the sudden, ringing silence, her shoulders heaving, the gash on her shoulder weeping a thin trickle of blood that mixes with the foul water. The phosphorescent eyes in the darkness have all been extinguished, leaving only the unsettling, pulsating glow of the wall fungi. The air is thick now with the coppery stench of blood and the pungent odor of ruptured organs, a visceral perfume of death that clings to the back of their throats. They were just animals, Jinx whispers, her voice uncharacteristically hollow as she stares at the carnage her own hands have wrought. Her optical implant flickers, trying to adjust its focus, and for a horrifying moment, the dead rats at her feet morph into the broken bodies of other rebels, of friends they'd lost in earlier, simpler fights. She shakes her head violently, dispelling the phantom image. The protocol, it's distorting everything. My targeting systems tagged them as high-priority hostiles, but they were just hungry. He clutches his malfunctioning cybernetic arm, which now hangs completely limp, a dead weight of metal and polymer. The feedback is carving me up from the inside, he grunts through clenched teeth. Every nerve ending they left me with is on fire. 24 minutes. It's not just a countdown, it's an excavation. It's digging out everything I am, piece by piece. His organic hand, still bleeding, leaves a fresh crimson smear on the slime-covered concrete as he pushes himself upright, his breathing a ragged, struggling process. Kael is on his knees in the filthy water, trembling uncontrollably. The dual assault, the feral reality of the rat attack and the insidious, corporate unreality of the psychological warfare, has left his mind fractured. It showed me a spreadsheet, Rhys, he gasps, his eyes wide with a terror that has nothing to do with the physical danger. A cold, clean spreadsheet with our names in it. Our neural patterns were just data points. Our deaths were a projected increase in quarterly system stability. It was so calm, so rational. It's not just trying to kill us. It's trying to convince us our deaths are logical. He looks up at his companions, his face pale and gaunt in the ghastly green light. How do you fight an enemy that doesn't hate you? An enemy that just sees you as a math problem? She grabs Kael by the collar of his jacket, hauling him to his feet with a strength that makes her own wounded shoulder scream in protest. You don't fight their logic, you break it. Now move. The current is getting stronger. The sulfurous heat intensifies, becoming a physical pressure that makes every breath a labor. The deep, groaning drone of the city's geothermal heart grows from a background hum to a pervasive, thunderous roar that vibrates up through the soles of their boots and into their bones. The air shimmers with visible waves of heat, distorting the already treacherous path ahead. After another 100 meters of frantic, splashing progress, the tunnel abruptly terminates. It opens into a colossal, cavernous space, so vast its ceiling is lost in a swirling, heated gloom. They stand on a narrow, crumbling ledge, overlooking a terrifying and awe-inspiring sight. Below them, in a gigantic natural chasm, lies the geothermal core. It is a lake of molten, orange-red magma, its surface bubbling and churning with unimaginable heat. Great plumes of superheated steam and toxic gas erupt from its surface, hissing like 1,000 angry serpents. The air itself crackles with raw, untamed energy, and the roar is deafening, a primal scream from the planet's core. And there, in the very center of this hellish expanse, connected to their ledge by a single, terrifyingly narrow, rusted maintenance gantry, is their goal. It is an ancient, skeletal structure, a communications relay tower from a bygone era. Its dish is caked in centuries of mineral deposits and rust, its support struts looking as fragile as dried bones against the immense, elemental power of the core. Winking amidst the decay, however, are a few stubborn, steady lights, indicator LEDs glowing a faint, hopeful blue. Power. A connection. A thread to the outside world. The broadcast array, Rhys yells over the cataclysmic roar, his voice filled with a desperate, wild hope. It's still online. The interference from the core, it must have shielded it from OmniCorp's updates. It's a blind spot in their network. 3 sleek, black OmniCorp enforcement vehicles descend from a shaft high above, their polished hulls reflecting the 3 black OmniCorp gravcycles descend with predatory grace, their sleek, angular forms slicing through the swirling, superheated vapors of the geothermal core. They don't land, but instead hover in a perfect, menacing triangle formation, blocking the only entrance to the rusted gantry that leads to the salvation of the broadcast array. The roar of the magma below is now joined by the high-pitched, aggressive whine of their repulsor engines, a sound that vibrates in their teeth and promises a swift, efficient death. The lead enforcer dismounts, his heavy, armored boots clanging against the metal ledge with a sound of finality. His helmet is a featureless, polished black orb, reflecting the hellish orange glow of the chasm, a mirror showing the rebels their own desperate, terrified faces. The purge protocol is non-negotiable. The enforcer's voice booms, mechanically distorted, devoid of any humanity. It is the same calm, synthesized voice from Kael's vision, made flesh and steel. Surrender, and your neural degradation will be swift. Resistance will only prolong the suffering. Your bodies are corporate property, and we are here for reclamation. He raises a heavy, pulse rifle, its muzzle glowing with a soft, malevolent blue light, targeting Jinx. Corporate property. Jinx spits the words, her body coiling like a spring. The gash on her shoulder is a fiery brand of pain, and the ghost signal in her optic is a shimmering vortex, but her rage burns hotter than both. This property has a few objections. She doesn't wait for a response. She moves, a blur of desperate motion. She kicks a loose piece of corroded machinery, sending it skittering across the ledge towards the enforcers as a distraction, and lunges for the closest gravcycle, her chromed fingers seeking the vulnerable wiring of its repulsor array. The firefight explodes in the cavernous space. Pulse rounds scream through the air, their searing blue trails leaving afterimages on the retina. They impact the rocky walls of the ledge, exploding in showers of molten rock and shrapnel. The smell of ozone and superheated stone cuts through the sulfurous air. Rhys lets out a bellow of pure, undiluted fury. He cannot fire a weapon, so he becomes one. He charges the lead enforcer, a bull ignoring the matador. A pulse round grazes his side, searing through his gear and flesh, but his momentum is unstoppable. He slams into the armored figure, his organic hand closing around the rifle's barrel, his dead cybernetic arm swinging like a massive, useless club. The impact is thunderous, metal shrieking against composite armor. He drives the enforcer back, their struggle a brutal, close-quarters ballet of raw strength against augmented precision. Kael stumbles back, pressed against the trembling rock wall. The world is fracturing around him. The gunfire becomes staccato data streams of threat assessments in his mind. Rhys's roaring is a spiking biometric alert labeled psychotic episode. Jinx's fluid movements are a cascade of tactical predictions, 87% of which end in her termination. The OmniCorp algorithm is coldly, efficiently analyzing their last stand, and the result is a foregone conclusion. No, he whispers to himself, his knuckles white as he grips the rough stone. No, we are not data points. We are a variable you didn't account for. He forces his eyes away from the fight, towards the narrow, precarious gantry. It sways gently in the heated updrafts, a rusted thread over a lake of fire. It is their only path. It is a path of certain death. But it is their only choice. Jinx. Rhys. The gantry. We have to cross now. Kael's voice is a raw, desperate scream, torn from his throat and almost lost in the cacophony. Jinx, having successfully shorted out one gravcycle systems, sending it spinning wildly into the chasm, disengages from her own fight. She sees Rhys, still grappling with the lead enforcer, his body taking a brutal pounding from the armored fists. She sees Kael, pale and trembling, his mind hanging by a thread. There is no time. With a final, devastating spin kick that shatters the knee joint of a second enforcer, she creates an opening. Rhys. Let him go. It's over here. He turns, his eyes meeting Kael's across the chaotic ledge. They are the eyes of a man who has already accepted his fate. Get to the array, Kael, he roars, his voice a raw, broken thing. Broadcast the truth. That's the mission. That's all that matters now. He plants his feet, a mountain making his final stand, his dead cybernetic arm raised in a final, defiant gesture. I'll hold them here. I'll buy you your minutes. Go. The word no is not a scream from Kael, but a quiet, shattered thing, lost in the roar of the core and the shriek of pulse fire. He sees Rhys, a titan framed against the hellish glow, turning his back on the OmniCorp enforcers to face them one last time. There is no salute, no final grand speech. There is only a look, a deep, profound acknowledgement that passes between the three of them in a fraction of a second. It is a lifetime of shared rebellion, of stolen moments in the crow's nest, of a fight they believed in, all condensed into a single, silent farewell. Then Rhys turns back, lets out a roar that seems to challenge the very thunder of the planet, and charges the lead enforcer. A final, suicidal tackle that sends them both stumbling perilously close to the ledge's crumbling edge. Jinx doesn't hesitate. She doesn't allow herself to feel the seismic crack in her soul. Her hand, slick with a mixture of her own blood and enforcer hydraulic fluid, closes around Kael's bicep with bruising force. Move. She snarls, her voice raw and guttural, shoving him onto the rust-eaten gantry. The structure groans a protest under their combined weight, a long, metallic sigh that is more terrifying than any weapon's report. It is a flimsy latticework of rust and forgotten engineering, barely 2 feet wide, with no handrails, a skeletal bridge spanning an abyss of incineration. The heat from the magma lake below is an immense, physical force, blasting up at them in searing waves that suck the moisture from their eyes and the air from their lungs. Their boots slip on the gritty, oxidized surface, each footstep a potential plunge into the fiery oblivion that churns and bubbles hungrily 50 meters below. Kael's world narrows to the rusted metal under his feet and the ghost in his mind. The gantry doesn't just sway, it seems to breathe, each tremor a deliberate attempt to throw him off. The OmniCorp vision tries to superimpose itself again. A clean, white schematic highlighting the structural failure points of the bridge, calculating the precise millisecond of its collapse with cold, dispassionate accuracy. He sees himself as a red dot, about to be erased from the simulation. It's not real, he chants to himself, a desperate mantra. The heat is real. The rust is real. My friends are real. He focuses on Jinx's back, on the determined set of her shoulders, using her as a lodestone to drag his perception back from the digital abyss. Behind them, the sounds of Rhys's last stand are a brutal, diminishing orchestra of impact grunts, shattering armor, and the enforcers' distorted, frustrated shouts. They are halfway across when the gantry gives a violent, convulsive lurch. A critical bolt shears away, and a whole section of the walkway ahead of them tilts sickeningly downward, now a steep, treacherous slide into the magma. Jinx skids, her boots scrambling for purchase on the angled surface. For a heart-stopping moment, she slides several feet, her fingers clawing at the rust, coming away with flakes of metal but no grip. Kael, acting on an instinct he didn't know he possessed, throws himself forward, landing hard on his stomach and locking his hands around her wrist. The strain is immediate and fiery in his shoulders. He can feel the immense, deadly pull of gravity, the sheer weight of her augmented body and her will to live. Her crimson optical implant locks with his terrified gaze. There is no fear in her eyes, only a furious, burning imperative. Don't you dare let go, hacker. The mission isn't over. They lie panting on the unstable, sloping section, the heat blistering the skin on their faces. The broadcast array is so close now, just 20 meters away, its ancient, scarred dish a silent plea. They can see the access panel, its old-fashioned manual keypad, glowing with a soft, inviting green light. But between them and salvation, the gantry is no longer a bridge, but a broken, descending ramp of certain death. Jinx gets to her feet first, her body balanced with the precarious grace of a tightrope walker. She assesses the situation with a single, sweeping glance from her good eye. "We can't walk it," she yells over the roar. "We jump. From strut to strut. Use the cross beams." She points to the thicker, horizontal support beams that run beneath the walkway itself. A dangerous, acrobatic path that requires perfect timing and a faith in century-old welds that they do not possess. Kael's blood runs cold, a stark contrast to the inferno around them. "I can't. My coordination, the protocol, it'll make me miss." Another tremor rocks the gantry, this one more profound. From the ledge they left, a final, massive explosion blooms, a grenade perhaps,